So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Fauzi, and today I'm going to be presenting your first step into a business management software. So to set your expectations, basically the goal of this presentation, this webinar today, is for you to understand basically first, mainly what is a business software, but also how to choose the right business software. So there are many business softwares out there, and today I'm going to basically explain to you how it works and what to look out for. So essentially, I've been at Odoo for around a year, a little over a year, and I'm part of the direct sales team in the UAE. Okay, so make sure to keep an eye out for the upcoming webinars. This is the first of 2023. In around 2 weeks, we're going to have another one about how to run a successful contracting business. So if you have a business that is about contracting, make sure to attend this. This is a very important one. It will help you and guide you on how to basically implement, not how to implement, but actually what to look out for in terms of a software for that. After which we have another webinar on how to file your VAT returns. If you're someone into finance, the finance department, or any business owner, or anyone actually that is interested in filing VAT returns using Odoo, this is an important webinar as well to attend. Little bit after that, we're going to have a webinar on how to run a successful retail and e-commerce business. So essentially, as you know, the world is shifting to e-commerce. It is very important to have one software that will manage the whole flow from actually the experience that the user gets on the e-commerce website itself to actually everything that has to do with inventory management, whether it be a drop shipping form of business or actually an e-commerce in which you have actually an inventory and you're managing the warehouse. So for today, I've displayed on screen the table of contents. We're going to start by talking a bit about what is a business management software in general, after which I'm going to present the factors to consider to choose the right software. So there are many factors to consider. This is actually linked to the following main points, which are basically knowing your pain points, the budget that you have, and the time frame that you have actually to implement a project. And as well, of course, I'm gonna be talking a bit about how to research and evaluate all your different options. With this, I'll show you how Odoo works briefly. Of course, it's gonna be a brief overview on how Odoo works. It's not a very technical, detailed demo that I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you a bit what is basically related to what I will talk about in the previous sections. Now, of course, it's very important to know that if you have a great software, there are strategies for it to be successful. So it's very important for you to implement the software in the right way to not face any issues and to have a successful implementation. I'm going to conclude then with a brief summary over everything that we mentioned. And of course, I hope that you enjoy this webinar. So first, what is a business management software? So a business management software in general, we're talking here about an ERP. It's an enterprise resource planning software. So essentially what it does in general is essentially it's a software that will help you manage your business. So if you have a business and you're doing everything manually currently right now, let's say someone is handling the quotations on Excel, someone else is handling accounting, manually, whether it be on papers or a book, and you're moving stuff manually, and let's say, I'm going to say it's a big mess, but it's basically a way of streamlining your business. So it's a way of having an increased efficiency and an improved way of managing your data. So you'll be able to generate reports and have it all in one place, essentially. So this is the purpose of an enterprise resource planning software, where you'll be able to manage all your departments in one place. So everything that has to do with, let's say, everything that you're buying, everything that you're selling, whether you have inventory or not, managing projects or not, all of this under the scope of one software, one powerful software that will allow you to do everything instead of moving across between different applications, different softwares. So choosing the right software is something that is very important. There are many factors to consider. I'm going to talk about those in the next slide, but also I'm going to talk about this all throughout actually this webinar, because I'm going to refer to multiple actual factors and things to look out for that are very important and relevant to such software. So in factors to consider is what I did. I broke this part into two different parts. So essentially, again, there's more details on that in the coming slides. So first, what I like to do about this is to organize the workflow. So for you to choose the right software and the right solution, you need to first understand your own business and break it down into different workflows. So once you have your different workflows, let's say one workflow where you know how you're managing, let's say, your project or your inventory or your sales, another workflow for, let's say, how you're managing your HR. So those workflows are the ones that I want or I would recommend you to focus on for this. Once you broke those down into the different workflows, you know exactly how your company operates in terms of workflows. Then I would suggest that you figure out the pain points and arrange them by priority. So, for example, you might have a company that is, let's say, an SME that doesn't have a lot of problems in terms of HR, but yet has a lot of issues managing inventory and quotations. So here you're going to have the workflow that is basically essentially managing your inventory and your quotations. This is your main priority. That's the one you're going to have to focus on first, and then later on, of course, you can focus on the other workflows. That's if we were to work in this way that will make it kind of easy for you to implement the software. Now, in terms of budgeting, of course, you're going to need to evaluate the cost of this problem. So, for example, going back to the reference that I just gave you, in terms of managing your inventory and your quotations, your business might be making a lot of mistakes in terms of because currently you're running your operations manually. So you don't have a system to manage your inventory or a system to manage your quotations. You might do mistakes here and there in the quotations and the inventory management, and this actually costs you a lot of money. Now, it is very important, although of course it can be limited in terms of accuracy, but for you to measure the cost of such a problem, and then basically here you'll be able to compare the cost of the problem, whereas versus the benefits that the solution, the ERP will get to you, like Odoo, for example, and then you'll be able to see that actually, okay, this investment into this powerful software will actually bring me a lot of benefits because I'm no longer making those mistakes that I would do without the software. So for this, there's two very important questions to ask. First, although not in this particular order as in the slides, the first one is basically what are the main pain points that my business is currently experiencing? Let's say, again, inventory management. Okay, we're making mistakes on the quotations. For example, if it's HR related, so we're having troubles calculating the salaries of our employees or managing the leaves, whatever it is in terms of workflow, just make sure that you know what your pain points are. And then also, how much time do I have to solve the problem? And this is basically, it has to do with the priority that I was talking about. So if you arrange your pain points into priorities, let's say, for example, the main priority right now is to manage my inventory properly, to, let's say, save off of the problems that are usually there because I'm not managing the inventory properly. That's the one you have to focus on first. And then after which you'll get to, let's say, the HR if it's not causing that many issues in your own business. So break it down first into workflows and then select your priorities, and we'll work on that priority essentially. So once you know your pain points, your budget, and your time frame, as I said, pain points, you organize your pain points, you know your budget, which is basically compared, as I said, so budget that you'll invest into a software versus what is being actually currently, I'm going to say, wasted because of things being done manual with mistakes, and as well the time frame. You need to know that setting up an ERP might take some time. So it's very important here to that I emphasize on this topic a bit. So if you are going to set up something that is, let's say, creating invoices, yes, you can set this up in a very, very fast manner. But if you're moving your entire business that has been running for quite a while from being a manual business that runs on paper, and you want to move that to a full software and do it in a proper way, whereas you give your employees time to go over a training properly, cleaning up all the data that you want to have, customizing the software to your needs. More on that later. It needs time, so you need to know exactly that you cannot. So the way I would recommend is don't wait until you start facing a lot of problems to begin implementing an ERP. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, and I really recommend that you move to an ERP as soon as possible. So you would even if you're just starting the company today or thinking of starting your business, I would definitely recommend that you start looking at Odoo and you so that you at least have kind of a rough vision on how to implement it for your business. After which, of course, there are very so let's say you decided that you're going to implement, you organize your workflows and your pain points, and you know now that, okay, for example, I'm going to take Odoo to start managing my procurement and sales workflow. So after that, of course, you have a lot of researching to do, and you're going to have to evaluate your options. Obviously, there are a lot of software out there, and you need to know the difference between them. And this is basically what I'm going to explain to you now. So essentially, the way I broke it down is I broke it down into two factors. So software specific factors and external factors. Software specific is, let's say, everything that is software related, let's say the software by itself. And external factors is, let's say, what you get out of the software, which is like support or documentation. So in terms of software specific, it's very important that you look at a few key points. And here, basically, I've mentioned them. And those are relevant to Odoo in what sense? So Odoo is an open source software. Open source has a number of advantages that I'm going to talk about now, but also link to in the next part that I'm going to talk about. So essentially, it will allow you, of course, a very important aspect, in my opinion, of open source software is that the community is quite involved into it. So this is great. Why? Because this links to the external factors that basically there's a lot of community generated content. There's a lot of people that are aware of it. So there's a lot of people that can help you use it all around you. I mean, it's easy to get information related to this particular software when you have people that actually use the software. So with Odoo, there's more than 8 million people that are using the software. And this is a software that has then obviously been tested, tried, and updated. And it's a great piece of software that you can rely on. So essentially here, again, back to the software specific. So open source is a very important thing. It also allows you flexibility and the possibility to customize, whether it be a customization using the team here at Odoo or by yourself. So what you need to know as well is the number of users that you have. So whenever you're catering to, let's say, any amount of users, actually, any number of users, sorry, and your company is growing, you need to have a software that is oriented and that will help you actually grow. You don't want to have a software that, let's say, right now, since you're an SME, for example, you have a few employees that you're running on a software. Okay, if you cross that stage and your company grows, then it becomes a totally different story and it becomes far more complicated to grow. With Odoo, it's very easy. All you have to do is add a few users, and then it helps you grow in a very smooth and efficient way without having to jump from one software that's just made for this number of users and then to another software to accommodate another different number of users. Essentially, here with Odoo, you can accommodate. There are vast various numbers of customers, anywhere from someone that has a startup that's literally just one user using an invoicing and accounting app to companies that have actually hundreds and even thousands of users that are running their operations and their entire business actually using Odoo. Another important software specific thing is the updates. So you need to look for the frequency of updates. Whenever you're getting a software like that for your company, you need a software that is regularly updated. Why? Because you don't want to have a software that, and this also has to do with the cloud-based software. So this is it's a topic that a lot of clients ask me. So what about cloud-based? Why cloud-based? So cloud-based actually is I mean, other than the obvious, helps you, of course, run all these updates in a very smooth way. So if I had the software hosted, let's say, on my own server, every time there is something that has to be updated, it's not as smooth as the software being cloud-based. And essentially, the updates are very important. You have a software needs to constantly be maintained and updated for it to run smoothly. So this is something that's very important. As you know, right now it's Odoo 16, Odoo 17 is coming, and there are frequent updates to the software to make sure that it runs smoothly. And this is very, very important so that you as a business don't have to worry about essentially all those problems that you can run into if the software isn't updated properly. Let's say there's a problem. Okay, now what do I do? No, it's smooth. There's updates, and since, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of users using it, these updates are constantly being done based on as well feedbacks that is received from the users. Um, with regards to cloud-based as well, there's backups. So you need the software. If you're running a software and you have a business that's running, it has a lot of information on it, backups are very, very important. And here essentially, the fact that it is cloud-based with multiple backups, this is something that is very good in terms of your business. I personally have heard many stories of people that have on-premise um, software and they think that okay, it's a lot safer, it's on my laptop, and then something happens to the laptop, and then here they start to tell me okay, I wish it was cloud based. So cloud based backups, these are very important. One more thing that is software specific, as I mentioned before, that it has to do with the scope that the software covers. So it has to do with growth, as I mentioned before. Let's say your company is growing, you need a software that is also that you can also grow with you. So essentially, let's say you're a trading business. Right now, you started trading. A couple of years down the road, you want to incorporate e-commerce into it. You don't want to have to find another software and then do an integration, because integrations between softwares are often costly. So you just want it's ideal for you to have a software that is an all-in-one integrated together, so it grows as you go along. It's very easy for you to essentially move across let's say phases in the cycle of your business. Let's say now you have a department that is HR. Now you need to add, let's say, HR management. You started as trading, now you have HR, you have e-commerce. You don't want to have to find something just for HR, find something just for e-commerce, and start integrating in between. So which are actually limitations of a lot of common ERP softwares on the market. So you might find a lot of software that fine, they'll cover some flow, but actually, okay, e-commerce, we can't do that. Customization, we can't do that. So here at Odoo, you can do all of this, and this is very, very powerful because it allows you to have this flexibility that's very beneficial to your business. In terms of external factors, there are you need to look at support, you need to look at free trial documentation, and of course the fact that the software is subscription based is something that I'm going to mention now. So support is very important. With Odoo, you have support. If you have any questions for that, of course, I can send you the link for if you want to read the details of the support. For free trials, all you have to do, I'll put the link towards the end of the presentation as well, so that you can try out the software. Now, a free trial, there's a few points here that I would like you to keep in mind. A free trial is very interesting for you to know that okay, the software is very user friendly. Of course, Odoo, one of the main points that I keep on getting from clients is that it's a very easy to use software, very user friendly interface. In terms of a free trial, I just want you to keep one thing in mind. A free trial is also limited in the sense that when you're implementing for a business, it is very good to have an implementation done by experts. I'm going to talk about this in the later part that is called factors for success. But nonetheless, so it's very important for you to have the software implemented by the experts that can do that, especially if you're a relatively medium to large company, even if you're a small company and you're looking to start, so that you just don't run into issues that you might run into if you're trying to start by yourself. Although the free trial is very important, it will likely not cover maybe as many details as a full implementation with a team of experts. The documentation, of course, is very important. You need, if you have a software, you need to have documentation with it. With Odoo, the documentation is available on Odoo's website, and this is a very important tool whenever you're running into questions. Sometimes you run into, you have a few questions here and there that you want to ask. All you have to do is go to the link of documentation, and then you'll have it there. It's very easy, very straightforward to use. This is a very important thing. When you're looking for a software, make sure you look for the documentation, and it has to be something very good and clean and easy to access. Now, for the subscription based, of course, there are softwares that are a one-time payment. This is something that I get a lot from clients. Okay, why is it subscription based? And this has to do as well with the updates. Every time I get a question about why is it subscription based, I would also mention that if you were to take a software at a one-time basis and then the software has, let's say, problems or a glitch here and there that has to be fixed. If it's a subscription based, of course you're gonna have the updates, and this is gonna help you a lot. So with this, of course, I'm going to show you now a brief introduction over Odoo. This is going to be brief, again, as I discussed. I'm just going to show you a database so that you understand roughly what it's like and the way it works. Of course, it's not going to be as detailed as a demo. If you're looking for a demo, of course, you can sign up on odoo.com/trial, and you can, of course, test it by yourself, or you can also submit an inquiry, and then someone from the team will assist you. So essentially here, what you have here in front of you is basically an Odoo dashboard, an Odoo database. Sorry, I'm losing my words here. So essentially, what I want to show you is the way it works. So it's a relatively easy to use. Everything is right there in front of you, and you have apps. So Odoo is modular essentially, and of course you have different apps that can help you cover different workflows and different departments. Now, what I want to show you in this demo essentially is just a brief overview on how those apps are. So let's say you're in the sales team. What you can do with Odoo, of course, is have access rights. You can select who in your company as an employee will see what. Of course, if you want the sales team not to have access to the accounting, you can definitely do that. In the sense that you can have it as, let's say, simple as possible. Of course, there's a variety of apps here. You might not use all of them. If you're just using a few apps, you can do that. If, as I said, if your company is growing and you're using a lot of apps and you need a lot of apps, you can just install them. All right. Now, of course, it's what you can see is the apps in the center. You have a chat here for internal communication where you can communicate with your team. Again, as I said, it's an all-in-one software, so you can have your entire business running on that one software without having to jump between one software and another. You have a very clean way of seeing, let's say, the reminders that you have set, whether it be, let's say, a sales team that has to follow up on a client, or let's say someone from the accounting side that has to follow up on any particular transaction. You can set reminders. I'm not going to go into much details on that, but essentially, briefly, you can, of course, you can see it for yourself here in front of you, and I'll send you the link. Of course, I'll have the link for the trial at the end of this presentation. Of course, keep an eye out for the upcoming webinars. They're going to go into much more detail about specific topics than what I'm doing here. The main goal of this presentation, of course, is for you to see and understand basically what is a business management software in general, and how to choose the right one. So here I'm just going to show you just very, very quickly the CRM. You can access the CRM just by clicking, and then you have a CRM. So I'm just showing you this so that you can see how easy, and the user interface here, how easily built it is. So that's very important when you're getting a new ERP software for your employees. You want it to be something that is very, very simple to use. You don't want them to waste a lot of time and then have too many features that are too complicated to use. Here with Odoo, it's very simple. Again, as discussed, each employee can get whatever is relevant to them, and then they'll be able to, of course, navigate the software in a very smooth way. If you want to create a quotation, you just log into the sales app, you have all your quotations. So this is an overview on the software. Of course, more on that in the upcoming webinars, and I'll have the link for a trial that you can create at the end of this presentation. To get back to the presentation, now that I showed you the software, I want to talk a bit about strategies for success. So it is very important that, okay, say you selected a great software. Odoo is a great, powerful software. Now, the way you implement it is very important. Why? Because when you implement the software, there are key things that I want you to keep in mind, because those are important for your success. Of course, having great software is amazing, but you also have to have a great implementation for that. And so for that, I divided this into two main important sections. Implementing with Odoo consultants and the range of resources available. So those are very important for a successful project. Because when you're implementing a project, you need to have someone that has experience doing such a project. So essentially, when you're implementing a project, a software for your company, whether it be, let's say, a trading company or a project-based company, it's very important to have someone that has handled similar companies before, that knows what they're doing, because this will save you a lot of time, and of course you're going to be learning from someone that has the experience. Now, so for this, of course, I would recommend that you look into the Odoo Quick Start implementation methodology, which is a method that Odoo uses for its projects. And essentially, this method has been built over years of success, years implementing projects for clients. And this is very important. That implementation methodology, of course, has a very high success rate. I've listed it here. It's 96% and more success compared to the industry average of 40%. It's important to know that there's a lot of software out there, and there is obviously different types of implementations, and implementations are very, very important. And of course, there's a lot of people that will try to implement an ERP into their company, but will fail. So as you can see, the industry average of having a successful software is around 40%. At Odoo is more than 96%. So that's a very, very, very high level of success in terms of implementations. And this is very important. Why? Because you don't want to be investing into a software and into a system that will essentially not be successful. So this is something that you need to look out for whenever you're choosing the right business software, is the success of the implementations. So one more thing on as a note for the implementations, you need to look out for an interactive implementation and have a successful training. So with Odoo, the implementation is somewhat interactive in the sense that it follows a specific flow that has the consultants that are implementing and the clients actually interact with each other. Why is this important? It's because when you're building a software in ERP, you need a software that is made for your business in a sense that you need the software to be kind of customized and tuned for your own business. It's fine if, I mean, you can find a lot of software that are okay, fine, it's ready-made software, and to some extent Odoo is of course ready and up and running. It's not a software that is fully coded from scratch for a specific business. But what I mean here is that each business, if I take two trading businesses, each one has different details that they manage. So one business might have, for example, payment terms, another business might not have payment terms. And it's very important that during the implementation, the team that is implementing your project knows about those small specific details, and of course will then help you have a successful implementation by implementing a software for your business, but not just a software for your industry in general. So it's not like, okay, this is a trading company or trading business or project-based business, here's a software and there you go. No, it's not like that. It's of course a software that, because for example, some project-based companies have a bit of trading involved into them. So so it's important to have a software and an implementation that is done based on exactly the way your business operates, and not something that is just like a blank template that you have to optimize your business entirely to, or just select a few features here and there that will work for your business, and then you're not going to be benefiting from the entire software. You're still going to be doing things manually. So an interactive implementation and a successful training will go a long way in this. Your team will be trained, will be ready to use the software, and the software will also be set up in a way that matches your workflows. And this is why, of course, I recommend an implementation with Odoo consultants. Now, there are a range of resources, and this, for me, goes beyond just the implementation. So let's say you have your software that is implemented, Odoo is implemented, and your team is already using it. There's a lot of documentation out there. So you can go to odoo.com/slides. You can watch tutorials. This will help you increase your knowledge. And maybe as you go along and your business expands, you might want to add a few features here and there, but your team knows how to do it because they also watched a few slides and tutorials, and they read through the documentation about that. Again, as I mentioned before, the fact that Odoo is open source, there's a lot of community and user-generated content everywhere. So this, what you can do is you can use that to your advantage. You can look up videos everywhere. Let's say, for example, on YouTube, even videos that are not officially made by Odoo itself, but someone that uses Odoo, someone from the community is posting videos there. You might find those very useful, and then you can use those actually to strengthen your own training and your own skills in using Odoo once it's implemented successfully. This will go a long way and will help you a lot expand your business and focus basically on your business mainly, and have the software do things for you that will kind of help you run the business in a very smooth and efficient way. And this, of course, will cut down a lot of the problems that you're currently facing if you're doing things manually. So this is it in terms of today's webinar. So to summarize a bit the key points, I started by discussing, of course, what is a business management software. Of course, the business management software is here to help you run your operations in a very smooth and efficient and integrated way. Just as Odoo, everything is integrated. Whenever, let's say, someone creates a quotation, and confirms it. It's integrated with the accounting, integrated with the inventory module. All of that, your workflow and your business will be connected to using one software. If you also have e-commerce, HR, all of those in one place. So this is what a business management software will allow you to do. It will allow you to manage all your company in one place. After which I spoke to you about, of course, the important factors to consider: cloud-based software, subscription-based, the amount of support, documentation that's available. All of those are important. The fact that the software is modular, you can use specific apps as you please, or if your business is expanding, you can also add different modules. So this is a very, very important factor to keep in mind, as well as the fact that Odoo is very, very user-friendly, and it allows you to have a very smooth onboarding of your employees to use the software. They'll be happy using an amazing software that is very simple and very easy to use. And this will go, of course, a long way with the happiness of your employees and the success of your business and your implementation. Of course, it is all of this depends on a successful implementation of a software. As I discussed, implementation it's very, very important here. If you have a great software, you need to have it implemented in the correct way, using the appropriate resources for it to run smoothly, and for you to, of course, benefit and maximize your benefit from this software. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm just gonna end this with a link here. So my email is faka@odoo.com. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to send me an email. I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. We can, of course, set meetings as well, and I can help you if you have any questions with regards to Odoo as much as I can. There's the link as well for the trial, odoo.com/trial. I highly recommend that you try and create a trial and see, of course, how it works for yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the team at Odoo. I'll be more than happy to support you. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and this webinar. Keep an eye out for the other ones that are much more topic centered and detailed in specific topics. This is a general one, as discussed, to help you know what to look out for in terms of a business software. I hope it was great, and looking forward to seeing you in the upcoming presentations.